Welcome to the AP podcast. Today we have Alex Kikel with us. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, man. I really appreciate you bringing me on here. Again, like we were bullshitting a little bit before we started airing, and it means so much to me that you even wanted to bring me on and talk to me. Because to me, I'm just someone who gets to live my passion, and I get paid to do it. So it really is an honor for me to be on, man. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited to actually have you on. We've been kind of talked before, but in contact now for a while, and Alex been doing some very big things. He's the owner of the prepcoach.com, so he preps high-level bodybuilders, and like himself, he's actually just got done competing at the Arnold, correct?
Yeah, and wow, was that a shit show. That was probably the best prep of my life and the worst showing of my life. Because that was the prep where, you know how everyone kind of has their rhythm and what makes them tick, and they find that stimulus that either makes them build muscle really fast or lose body fat really fast. They just find what works for them. Mm-hmm. I found that during this last prep, how I lose body fat so efficiently. I found my kind of key. I found my rhythm. And the bitch about that was I fell back in my old ways of, let's experiment with this. Let's experiment with that. Like we were talking again before the air about my fiance, and I proposed to her in Disney during prep. So we took a week trip. I brought all my food, but I thought, okay, I sit at a desk all day. So now I'm doing all this increased NEAT. I'm going to be walking 8 hours a day compared to sitting 8 hours a day. So on top of that, I should do this extreme NEAT experiment and do a modified protein sparing modified protein fast to see if I can get even more shredded. And at that point, I was ready to step on stage the next week. So I'd made so many stupid little mistakes like that. By the time I got, to actually, feed myself, to actually load and fill out into the show, everything just went to shit. I starved myself too long. I did way too much cardio because I had that mindset of, if I work harder, I'm going to get to my goal better. And so it was a big learning lesson. It really showed me that I know how to build muscle now. I know how to lose fat now. But what I can't do is I can't peak myself. I will always fall back into that I just want to work harder mentality. Mm-hmm. So next time around, I just bring someone else on that I trust, and we'll be good to go.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how when you're by yourself, you do start to experiment a lot. And so when you have somebody, I'm the same way. It's hard not to, because you're always wanting to learn. So it's like, this is a great opportunity for this. And then, sometimes it doesn't go well. But I give you props, man. Like you did look great. And then when you kind of came out and posted pictures of after you peaked, or when you did peak prior, your actual peaking was pretty legit. So I give you props for that prep. You look great. So, so Alex actually
thanks, man.
a lot of podcasts himself. He has his own Beast Fitness Radio. And so I'm actually going to link that up in the description box for this, because I think there's a lot of great information that's going to be related to the topics today. Today, I want to kind of talk about adaptogens and nootropics is what we kind of decided on. But I guess kind of leading off, I do want to get to know, or have my viewers get to know Alex a little bit. So kind of tell us a little background of what got you started into this, and then we'll kind of dive into the supplements.
Right on, man. Okay, so first of all, thank you for the lovely introduction. You make me sound a lot more impressive than I am. How I got started. So I started off like everyone else doing your traditional sports in high school. I was doing lacrosse and amateur boxing at the time. And I ended up, it was my junior year, and junior years whenever you're getting scholarship money to play in college. And I had everything worked out. I was basically going to have a full ride on lacrosse. And one of the last games of the season, I was going down for a one-on-one with the goalie, and someone hit me from behind, and it rained the night prior. So basically, whenever I flew forward, my head, my helmet stuck into the mud, but my body kept going. So my dad actually has it recorded. My head was like sideways and snapped. Apparently I got up, I played another 40 minutes. I scored a goal. I wiped two people out, and then all of a sudden I just fell down. I don't remember that game at all to this day. Ended up going to the hospital, had a concussion where I was basically laying in bed for 6 months. So in my mind, I was one-on-one with the goalie and got hit from behind. And then next thing I knew, I woke up in my bed. And so there was a 6-month gap in my memory where I don't remember anything of it. That's how bad the concussion was. And that was a really weird experience, because think about right now, and then just blink your eyes and imagine waking up in your bed and feeling bony, feeling like I lost like 30 pounds, having scruff all over your face because you haven't shaven for 6 months. Like, I ended up stumbling to the bathroom, like looking in the mirror, and I didn't recognize myself. And like, it literally felt like a movie. Like, you feel like, what the fuck happened? Like I'm in the Matrix or some bullshit. And so parents explained everything that happened. They showed me videos, and it was like, you know, first thing I remember looking in the mirror, I was like, wow, something's got to change, because I don't know this person staring back at me. And that obviously took me out of contact sports for life. Loved boxing, loved lacrosse, but I was like, shit, I'm not going to risk another concussion where I could have more brain damage than I already had. And so because of that, I kind of got into, and I was working with, it was the concussion center here in Pittsburgh, because I'm in the PA area. And they actually work with a lot of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they were kind of on the up and up on all the concussion research. So I got lucky. I kind of got in on the ground floor, more or less of a guinea pig than anything, because my concussion was on the 1% end of people that get that severe. And so I started learning about nutrition because I just wanted to heal my brain. I wanted to learn to be able to think and be able to speak again, because I lost a lot of that, you know? And fast forward, and then that kind of got into, okay, I want to start working out again. I want to change my body because I absolutely hated what I looked like. And then that turned into, a friend was getting into bodybuilding, and his brother was into bodybuilding, and he was coached by a natural pro, and then started talking to them, had to decide what to do in college. So I thought, oh, dietetics, that's nutrition related. And that was really the start of it all, you know? And then it just kind of progressed from there to starting to compete, to posting up on the bodybuilding.com forums. I used to love posting up back there. And, you know, people started reaching out to me saying, oh, you sound like a pretty smart guy. Can you prep me for a show? And I was like, dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but if you want help, yeah. I mean, I can't promise you anything. I've never done this before. And after that kind of steamrolled, you know, there came the prep coach, and then realized dietetics wasn't for me, transferred schools, got into basically a lot of biomechanics and bioenergetics. I actually have the same master's that Eric Helms has. So that program, it was nice because the master's was actually all online. So what you can do is everything is basically how much you want to learn. So I was the annoying kid, because I would email my professors every freaking day, talking to them about things, picking their brain, and they really fucking hated me. They were like, you're making my job a lot harder than it is. But
get paid salary here, man. Come on.
Yeah, exactly, you know. And yeah, that just really started everything. That's kind of from the bodybuilding and everything aspect. And then I was working at Chipotle at one point, ended up meeting my fiance there, Lindsay. And it was just one of those things where she came into my life, bodybuilding was in my life, prep coaching was in my life. And I started becoming a better person, a happier person, not as negative. And it's kind of where I'm at today.
Wow. Shit, if that's a story, I don't know what else is. Holy shit, man. Well, yeah, no, that's crazy. I love hearing stories like that, because it seems like a lot of people I interview now do have a story of why, because it's not just one day, oh, I just want to start bodybuilding. Usually it's something to do with maybe a different sport or a different area of their life, and then they kind of got into this through making them better. You know what I mean? Or like for me, it was not exactly, but it was similar to you. Like, I played sports all through high school and all this stuff, just like you were saying. And I'm so competitive, and I'm sure you're really competitive as well. and it just kind of transitioned into, oh man, maybe I want to look better. And then it transitioned into reading a bunch of fucking stuff online and just trying to figure out what's the good stuff and what's not. And then I totally transferred my entire degrees, just like you said with dietetics. I transferred from engineering and went into exercise science. So
there you go.
Like, no, I think that's really cool. And that's a backstory. But like I said, guys, this guy knows a shit ton. So he is the guy who probably facilitates all of the forums that you're reading. He's probably written in there at least a couple times.
Man, I wish I had more time to go back on the forums. I used to absolutely love them. Like bodybuilding.com back in the heyday. Like now I don't. I think bodybuilding.com is kind of shit now. They've really gone downhill. I haven't been on the forums for years, but it used to be so much fun. Like, you'd be interacting. Like, I can't tell you how many people I've had on my podcast, or I've coached or I've worked with in some capacity who was back on those days. Like there was Matt Jansen, there was RJ Perkins, there was Kurt Widener. Like there were so many big name people today that you're like, oh shit, I know who that was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it really has changed now because I don't know if you think it's more because of the actual bodybuilding or more of physique in general is getting more mainstream or growing to the point where it's just like all about the supplements and marketing and making money and stuff instead of about the actual culture. I don't know.
So are you asking from a forum aspect?
Yeah.
Okay. I really feel like it's because now you have so much more than just the forums. Because back in the day, and again, I'm saying back in the day, I'm only 25 years old, so I'm not like, you know, an old guy or anything like that.
Yeah.
I still feel like a little kid. But, you know, whenever I started, I'll say that for a better way to say it, there was only the forums. YouTube fitness wasn't big. There weren't bodybuilding podcasts. There weren't bodybuilding videos out there. Like it was very limited. So I feel like now there's just so much more. Instagram, Facebook, and all these things that have really blown up to where people don't like posting on the forums. And then you have anyone that's, you know, fairly knowledgeable. Like anytime a pro would go on any boards, they get fucking flamed. And they go in as usually an anonymous person because they don't want the attention. And people start flaming them like, oh, that's wrong. Oh, this is bullshit. And the pros don't want to post there. So, I mean, you wonder why. I feel like a lot of it has to do with a lot of people in our generation, all the negativity, all the drama people like starting. Like, I don't know about you, but I just don't deal with that stuff. If there's a negative situation, I leave it. If it's a negative person, I get away from them. It's not worth it, you know? Life's too short.
Exactly. Yeah. And it just totally, I know what you mean. Cause there's a lot of that stuff going back and forth and it just totally ruins the whole point of the forum itself is to help the people. Right. So,
exactly.
But yeah, so, kind of switching gears from the forums, like I want to pick your brain afterwards of what forums you still think would be good diving. Cause I know I've listened to other podcasts of other pros that used to be in, like, for example, you were talking about Helms earlier. He used to be in these forums and then he would be posting stuff and then he'd be told that he's completely fucking wrong. And then he realized that he was wrong at that time, but then but that's how he got started. Right. So I'd like to know what kind of forums that you still think that are good or something that I can go back on and maybe learn some things. But
so the biggest one is Intense Muscle. That one's run by Skip Hill. That's where Dante Trudell, that's where Dr. Scott Stevenson, that's where Ken himself really started posting all the amazing information. I'm such a big fan of those three guys because they popularized, and I hate saying popularized because I know they don't want it to be popular. Like Dante never wanted DC training to be a popular method, you know? But they really did just start promoting really how you can build the most amount of muscle in the shortest amount of time. And it's very simple. It's progressively overloading in the gym and progressively eating. Like that, I'm taking that from Jordan Peters right now because he's another guy like that. That just, if you stick to the basics, and obviously there's a lot more details. Like I'm someone who loves the details, but I'm always going to keep the basics as 90% of the program because that's what's going to get you there. But the extra little bit's fun to play around with.
Yeah.
So Intense Muscle, that's probably the biggest one. I don't even post it. I still go back through that forum and read stuff that, Dr. Scott Stevenson posted years and years ago, or Dante posted years ago. Other than Intense Muscle, I'd say if you go back to the bodybuilding.com forums in the contest prep section and really go back in the years and find people like Eric Helms and Alberto Nunez and all their journals and read through those, I'd probably say only those two. If you are looking more on the enhanced side of things, obviously Professional Muscle is the biggest one out there. But there's a lot of bullshit on those forums too. So I would pick out the people that actually know what they're talking about, but that's, it's kind of, I don't want to get into naming people and leaving.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Well, yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Those are like way more beneficial to read than going to school almost. So.
Sadly, it's like I love having the academic background. I love always learning. It has its place. But once you start getting into bodybuilding and prep coaching, you realize just how little all of that education really has any carryover. I don't think I'd be where I am today if I didn't have my master's, if I didn't think about pursuing my PhD. But at the same time, I think it's only helped from a credibility standpoint. You know what I mean? Because if you have a master's, it sets you apart from someone who has a bachelor's, no matter what industry you're in. But I mean, in prep coaching, look at like fucking Chris Aceto. I mean, he he does real estate and shit like that. I don't think he has any major degrees, and yet he's one of the best prep coaches out there. It's just so different. You know?
Yeah. And me and Austin, because I had him on, also kind of talk about the same thing. He's like, you don't need a degree. There's people like you just said who are the biggest name prep coaches that have no degree. So no, I'm the same way though. The academics. Still like the credibility sources and the base kind of gives you the terminology and stuff going into reading the stuff. But yeah. Anyways, let's transition here into some adaptogens, huh?
Yeah, definitely. So we are going to, and I'll kind of summarize this a little better. When you're looking at adaptogens are simply supplements that are going to help you adapt to a situation. So they generally help with anxiety relief, stress relief. They're going to have indirect effects on things like immunosuppression or actually increasing your immune system. They're going to help you, obviously, like they say, adapt to a situation, promote anti-fatiguing and all that kind of fun stuff, and decrease overall body stress. Now, if you look online, adaptogens are going to be classified as all these different supplements, like the three, we're going to talk about the three main ones that I feel have the most benefit, and then also nootropics. You know, if you look online, if you look at the research, fish oil is classified as an adaptogen, as a nootropic. There's all these different things classified under both. And so I just want to make the clear distinction between the two. Because for me, when you're looking at nootropics, you're thinking more about increasing brain and neuronal activity versus adaptogens, you're looking more at stress. So we good on that?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And we'll kind of dive into that more about different parts of what they're targeting of like from an endocrine standpoint or more of a neural standpoint when you go into it.
Yeah, definitely. So let's first look at ashwagandha, because that's the most well-researched one out there. I would say that's probably the best in terms of decreasing overall body stress. So I would say it kind of falls into the ergogenic aid side of things, and also the obviously overall health benefit side of things. I feel like that's kind of giving you the best of both worlds. Mm-hmm. So if you look at its benefits, you have anti-anxiety, you have stress relief. It works as a very good antidepressant. It's used in a lot of Alzheimer patients. It reduces immunosuppression, so it boosts your immune system. If you look at it from a signaling aspect, basically the bioactives are basically, we'll say, modulated through different ways, and that's what's causing all these different effects. So from a mechanistic standpoint, there's so many different mechanisms of action that it depends on which one you're actually looking at, which benefit as to how it's metabolized. So basic dosages, it's in the literature, you're looking at basically 6 grams divided up throughout the day. So generally they're having 2 grams in the AM, 2 grams midday, 2 grams PM. That's obviously on the higher end of things. I generally like people to start off with something like a gram and a half or something, usually first thing in the morning, because if you think the traditional person has a 9-to-5 job. So they take it first thing upon waking, and throughout the day, they realize and they start feeling, okay, I have a lot less anxiety. I have a lot less stress. I have a lot of clients that just have anxiety disorders. For whatever reason, you know, a very small situation to you and me would just be the end of the world to them. And introducing something like an ashwagandha is absolutely just, it's so beneficial. Not only that, but if you have anyone in contest prep, I really recommend ashwagandha, because that's already, your body's so freaking stressed out, whether you're natural or enhanced. I mean, your blood work's going to be skewed by the end. You're going to feel pretty shitty. And ashwagandha is just something that can help you to kind of, I don't want to say ease into prep, but it can at least help you deal with a lot of the stress that prep causes. That would be ashwagandha.
Yeah, and so I guess, and also to add to that, would you say, you said to start out at like a gram and a half. That's what I like to do too, splitting the 2 dosages, what I like to do. I like to use it more of like a post-stimulant bait, like after you've taken your stims or whatever for 4 to 8 or however long you decide to take stims, to kind of come off of that, more of a physical, like a stressor for the central nervous system and just from the stimulants and stuff. I was going to say, do you think that has a better effect? And we'll get into the next adaptogen that also might kind of carry over into that. But that, and then also because I know there's KSM 66 and there's different things of ashwagandha. Which one do you think is best?
So based on, so it's kind of twofold, because I always like to do things based on either what the literature says and what actually works with my clients, what works from just an actual application standpoint. Because going back to, like we said about the schooling, there's the educational side of things, but you have to see how it actually plays out. So the nice thing about ashwagandha is time and time again, from literature and from actual application, KSM beats out any other form of ashwagandha that I've seen. It's basically the more bioavailable form, and it's patented for a reason. So I would always choose ashwagandha. I actually have, what's it called? I can't read it from here. My supplement shelf's over there. But some supplement company off of Amazon sent me their KSM ashwagandha for free. I posted about it a while back. And I mean, it's KSM ashwagandha, so it's going to be good. They had a little bit of bioperine in there to help with just nutrient absorption overall. But I love that, but you can really get any brand of KSM. I mean, as long as you have that patented version, you're going to be fine.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Let's go with Rhodiola rosea, next one. So trying to classify that, whereas ashwagandha is kind of helping from an overall body stressor standpoint, we'll say that Rhodiola rosea is more falling in lines of a direct ergogenic aid than a health supplement. I mean, it obviously falls into both, but I would look at it more as using it to cause or to reduce fatigue during training. So literature-wise, we see increased cognitive functioning, so more neuronal and brainal activity. We have anti-inflammatory, which is the anti-inflammatory effects are very small on it, but it's still worth noting. It obviously is a neuroprotectant, but the big thing, like I said, is its ability to reduce fatigue. So a lot of people dose this in their pre-workout supplements at anywhere from 300 to 700 milligrams. If you look at the actual bell curve on it, the higher the dosage get, doesn't make it any more effective. So generally anywhere from 300 to 500 milligrams is what you're going to see. I feel like that is probably one of the better adaptogens in terms of an acute sense for training adaptations. So I would dose it pre-workout. Again, probably 500 milligrams. That seems to be a really good dosage for a lot of people. There's really no patented form or anything on Rhodiola that I've seen that's better than another. So any traditional Rhodiola extract. One thing too, this is actually beyond its capabilities of being able to reduce fatigue. It's cool because if you look at some of the rat studies, they actually showed that it actually, with binge eating, basically in female rats, it actually reduced a lot of the stress caused by binge eating. So if you are in that post-contest period where binging is going to be an issue, I like adding in Rhodiola every day, even on non-workout days, for that simple, reason. And I forget the actual mechanism of action by how that works, but it's definitely shown itself to be a pretty viable option. Obviously you need willpower post-show because you're going to be hungry no matter what, but it still helps.
Yeah. So then I guess kind of splitting those up, ashwagandha sounds like it would be more of like a health supplement for the everyday person just trying to relieve total body stressors, reduce some cortisol a little bit. But maybe the Rosea would be for people training rather than just – I'm not saying that somebody who's not training can't take it, but more it's targeted towards, like you said, the cognitive function of going into the workouts, reducing the fatigue, and then I'm guessing that overall would probably help with the recovery afterwards as well.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's one thing that adaptogens are awesome at as well. If you take that simple thing, exactly like you said, if you have constantly elevated chronic cortisol levels, that's not going to be good. But you need cortisol. You need these stressors to cause a lot of the beneficial repairing responses. So if you have anything that's going to reduce stress, it doesn't even have to be a supplement. It could be something as easy as deep belly breathing. It could be something as easy as meditation. If you have anything like that, it's going to reduce overall body stress. It's going to help you recover faster. It's going to reduce a ton of these longer-term chronic diseases that people are getting, because you look at our society, there's no exercise, there's shitty nutrition, and on top of that, everyone's stressed and angry and mad, and so they're never giving their body and their hormones a chance, and it sucks because it's almost an easy equation to fix, but it's so hard to do that on a grand scale to get people to realize that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's exactly why putting this on there is because I feel like these supplements are overlooked, I guess, or people's actual health has to start with being healthy before they can go in Like, for example, I have people who are just chronically stressed and then they're trying to train or lose body fat or just like, or they're just under recovered all the time. And I'm like, well, did you start at the base? Like taking your BC or taking, your pre-workout necessarily isn't going to it'll get you through a workout, but is it going to get you through the week of preparing and actually accomplishing the goals that you're having? And it's like, you got to start back here. And so I think that's a great, that's why we're doing this today, is because these ones are really beneficial that I think are often overlooked. You know what I mean?
Oh, most definitely. And the one thing I'll add to that as well is all of this, and I've made it mandatory with all of the clients that I work with, is that you have to do one nice thing per day. And the only reasoning behind that is the positivity and the beneficial effects you get from that. You're a better person. You're bringing positivity to a negative world. So not only do you have that aspect of it, but if you're more positive, you're going to not have as much stress. You're going to recover faster. And these, excuse me, I had a big bowl of ground beef before we did this interview. So but, you're basically going to make all these products work better. You're going to grow faster. You're going to get leaner. It's just every process in your body is going to be accelerated if you're a happy individual. There were so many studies done going back from a literary standpoint where they actually compared happy and positive people to negative and mean people. Basically, there's been I'm sure you've heard of those one Chinese studies. I forget over how long it's been going on, but they basically had ice and they chiseled in basically positive words or negative words. Have you read those before?
I've read similar stuff. We've gone over like in cycles, like a social determinants class and stuff about I believe it was a plant, and it was like nurturing and being positive environment for this plant made it, or this flowers or whatever the hell it was, but it would make it grow and it would sustain its color and all of its, stiffness. Yep. And the other one was no nurturing. It was like it was in a environment where nobody would talk to it or nobody's giving it attention. And the lifespan of each was totally different. Like the one with nurturing and people around it talking to it would grow and it stayed alive a lot longer. And it was just kind of interesting. They did it multiple times and I'm like, wow.
Yeah. See, that's the kind of shit that's so cool to me. And that's just one of the many reasons why I just like adding it in there. Cause a lot of people don't understand how much it changes your environment,
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And like you are who you surround yourself around. Right.
So, exactly. Yeah.
But what's the third one you're wanting to go into?
So third one, and the reason why I pick these three is because, like I said, there's so many adaptogens out there. Some have benefits, some don't. Some people metabolize them well, others don't. But these three seem to be more universal, okay? So it seems like everyone that uses these gets a good response. Now, the third one's going to be Panax Ginseng. This is the one that I would kind of classify as the overall health one. So you had the other two that had, some ergogenic aid effects. The other one had some health benefits. This one I'd say is more for overall health. So you have the obvious, the digestion, the reduction in actually gut inflammation. It actually reduces fasted blood glucose levels, I believe, by how it works in the gut. It increases cognition. It's an anti-inflammatory. If you actually look at the DNA, from a DNA side of things, it actually decreases the rate at which that DNA is actually damaged. So essentially, it's kind of seen as like a longevity type supplement, food, whatever you want to call it. There are, let's see, there's Korean, there's Korean red ginseng, there's white, and then it's like G1115 NAGE, something like that. Basically different versions of Panax Ginseng. Yeah. All of them are beneficial. They just contain different amounts of bioactives. So in terms of that, I recommend people just get a traditional Panax Ginseng product. I really haven't seen one benefit over the other from actual experience or from anything in the literature. You're looking at 200 to 400 milligrams per day for a lot of the health benefits. One thing that some people do, and this is more towards, this is for certain people from a libido standpoint, there's actually a lot of good erection data out there. I always think it's funny to bring that up, but there's obviously people suffer from erectile dysfunction, extreme low libido, things like that. Generally, the libido thing is more of a hormonal issue, but you can add in Panax Ginseng. It's something like, I think it's like 3 grams, so it's a pretty hefty dose per day, but it seems to be pretty good at getting your libido back. And from an erection standpoint, there's been some good feedback there. So,
well, I'm glad that that's great. I'm sure that a lot of guys are ordering some right now after you said that. But yeah, so and I guess with the adaptogens or really any supplement, you kind of talked about like the absorption side of things. With that dosaging for each one of those, do you see that there needs to be anything stacked with it for the bioavailability of it, or is it pretty much good to go by itself?
So here, wait one second. I'm trying to move you around on my screen. For whatever reason, this player keeps like dropping your face out of the screen. Okay, there we go. So yeah, again, I can bullshit talk about anything forever. So a lot of them know. Now, I'm of the thought process of why not? Because it's only going to help. So you have your things like your bioparent that's going to help increase the absorption of a lot of these adaptogens. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the issue, and this is I really don't know too much about this actual topic, but there's also side effects to everything. So whenever you are increasing the bioavailability of a product, you're not only increasing its ability to boost some of the more beneficial side of things, but you're also boosting the negative side of things. So depending on how they're absorbed in your body and how they're metabolized, there could be some interaction for those negative processes to be elevated. Something like if you're looking at curcumin, and I forget who was talking about this example, but I thought it was the perfect example to use. If you look at curcumin versus turmeric, so two different things, basically the same thing, active constituent, different makeups. Yeah. If you take curcumin, like Super Bio-Curcumin from Life Extension, I fucking love that product. I wish they'd sponsor you or the podcast or my podcast so we can get a discount, but Life Extension's too big. If you look at Bio-Curcumin, they have bioparent and things like that that enhance the absorption. Now, that's awesome at reducing overall inflammation in your body. Mm-hmm. Issue is, what does turmeric do? Turmeric is better at actually healing your gut lining and reducing inflammation in your gut, whereas Super Bio-Curcumin is more systemic. Gotcha. Turmeric does that because it sits in your gut. The longer it's there, it's helping reduce that inflammation. If you would add bioparent to it, it would bypass your gut too quickly, and you'd miss the benefits of it. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's always those kind of things to consider. I feel like it's still splitting hairs at the end of the day, no matter what. I would personally always go with biofeedback. So try it on yourself, see if you notice a difference. It's hard with these kind of health supplements, but at least from an adaptogen standpoint, you can tell if something is going to be a little more beneficial in terms of like memory recovery, memory formation, overall cognitive, processes as a whole. So I'd try it out and see if it makes a difference. I really don't believe there's going to be much interactions from an adaptogen standpoint, but whenever you're dealing with the gut brain, and whenever you're dealing with all these different processes that go on from a neuron standpoint, it's knowledge way above my head. So,
well, yeah, it'd be something to actually look into because it sounds like there's a lot, and that's interesting. You kind of talk about the bypassing part because of the absorption rate, because you want to actually get the benefits of why you're taking it, right? Instead of just spending money on stuff that. But I think that exactly what you said, you need to try it on yourself because people are looking for the answer, but as anybody that you will ask that knows a little bit about anything, they'll say, what's their first answer? It depends, right? It depends, it depends, like, right? So you have to try it for yourself to see if it works with you because that's the main thing. You can't just read a bunch of stuff and then start, getting the results that you want based on somebody else's practice. So
exactly. And that's why I always try and dig deeper if you would ask me a question or if someone else would ask me a question, because I hate giving the answer of it depends. Even though it holds complete validity, you still feel bad because someone's reaching out to you for information, or if we're on this podcast trying to get out information to the general population and you say it depends, well, why do they even fucking listen to the episode?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I have trouble with that too. And then sometimes you can kind of lead them to like the options to choose, but yeah. Well, kind of like the adaptogens, kind of like a holistic health and stress and all this stuff. And you were talking about before about nootropics and how even fish oil, they're kind of classified as both. They're kind of lumped together, you said, in the industry or just with a health standpoint usually. But to you, they're very, well, not very, I don't know how different you think they are, but I think from a neural standpoint, the nootropics are going to have a greater effect. And so I know that you kind of wanted to go into that and maybe talk about a couple of nootropics that are your favorite.
Yeah, most definitely. So first of all, you're 100% right. To me, there's a big difference. It's kind of like if you lump all carbohydrates into one category or all protein into one category. Every protein has different amino acid profile, a different vitamin and mineral profile. It's going to be digested at different rates. There's just all these different things that I feel like once you're out of that initial phase, and we're talking about we'll say intermediate to advanced bodybuilder. If you're just beginning, the differences really don't matter. You just got to get in the gym, work out hard, and eat good. But after that, you're trying to take things a little more seriously. That's when I feel like things should be broken down a little more. And if you're taking any supplement, then you should already be an intermediate or advanced because you don't need it when you're a beginner, and especially if someone is, we'll say your average everyday person, so like you said, looking at more from a holistic standpoint, they need to look at this in depth because why would they be taking Rhodelia if they are having anxiety at work every day? It's not going to have the same effect as an ashwagandha would. So it's just keeping things in the right context.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
So from a nootropic standpoint, let's look at, we'll go with Nootropics first. That's kind of a more common one. If you look at it, whenever you actually take it orally, it's basically absorbed by the digestive tract. It really easily crosses the blood-brain barrier. It actually targets what receptors? Glutamate receptors, binds with glutamate and actually inhibits the breakdown. Now, if you look at it from a, we're going to say from a metabolic standpoint, it's metabolized really quickly. The half-life is so short. So if you look at a lot of the literature, they're dosed multiple times throughout the day. Now, that's one thing that I want to make sure that people understand. Generally, when you're taking a nootropic, people are going to be taking it either because they're in school and they are trying to learn a subject better. I know for a while, like anytime I'd have an overwhelming week where I would get, for whatever reason, I would get so many clients in 1 week compared to the last week. One thing I would do is I'd be supplementing with nootropics almost every day because I want to make sure that my brain's functioning at a higher capacity because there's so much more overload.
Yeah.
If you are going to be using it from a bodybuilding standpoint, from an ergogenic standpoint, you're looking at using it pre-workout. Obviously, using it pre-workout, I find a lot of people, because Nootropics is more memory and learning formation. It has a lot of neuroprotective properties, but a lot of people, whenever they introduce nootropics in the pre-workout setting, they realized that focus is what they were missing. They didn't need a stim product. They didn't need to be stimmed out of their fucking minds to squat 500 pounds. They needed to be focused. Yeah. Because even if I don't take, like me, for example, if I don't take nootropics pre-workout, in between sets, I'm sitting down staring at that fucking bar. Like I'm imagining doing it. I'm getting fucking amped up and pissed and happy and everything at one time, but I'm focused on that. Yeah. So if you don't have that naturally, then using a supplemental side of things can really help. It's cool Nootropics too because it really helps to actually improve association between the two brain hemispheres. So that's kind of how it works in terms of from at least a brain activity standpoint. There's a lot of other, we'll say, mechanisms of action that involve different protein molecules that are kind of involved in memory formation and learning and stuff. To be honest, I forget half of them. There's so many freaking different ones. There's BDNF. There's just, the list goes on and on. But overall, that's kind of the nootropic or Nootropics breakdown.
Gotcha. Well, so I know you kind of talked about in a pre-workout setting, or maybe in a more cognitively aware setting for studying, or you have a lot on your to-do, you don't want to fuck it up, but a lot of things I'm seeing now, well, not a lot, but some of the supplements that are coming out now are actually mixing a stimulant with a nootropic together. I don't know what your opinion is on that, with the actual, releasing of dopamine or just releasing of the feel good or the stimulant effect. And then also and I don't know if you've used caffeine or any sort of other stimulant with the Nootropics, but I want to know your opinion on that rather than just by itself.
I like that one. So that's a really good one I didn't even think about talking about. It's interesting. So we're always evolving. We're always trying to find the next best thing. And I feel like combining stimulants and things that are neuronal drivers like nootropics, I feel like it's a really smart combination. It's a really good combination. What I haven't seen is any long-term negative side effects. So I feel like if you're combining the two, it's kind of like something else. It's kind of like everything else. You really need to practice moderation. I feel like a lot of nootropics can be used for an extended period of time. A lot of stimulants can be used for an extended period of time, as long as you're keeping it within the recommended dosage and not going above and beyond. Like, you're not doing a gram of Noopept or a gram of caffeine. Like, that's just fucking stupid. But if you're keeping at like Noopept at 10 to 20 milligram, you know, like I feel like if you're being smart about it, then you can do that for pretty much weeks on end. Even caffeine, if you dose to 200 milligrams every day, that's going to have no negative side effects years down the line. It's just not going to happen. It's been so well studied, documented. Now, once you start getting up in the dosages, things change. Once you start combining the two, things change, because you're activating different pathways, different mechanisms. And although I don't have any research to back it up, I don't think it will be the best thing long term if it's abused, you know. But that kind of goes with saying with everything. So I feel like if you would go through a tub of pre-workout that combines stimulants and nootropics, then take a little break if you need to. If not, just do stimulants after that, or if not, just use nootropics. So it's kind of giving your body a break. And this is for more of the mainstream ones, like Huperzine A, which is another one. That's one that I would really make sure that you're taking a break from, because that does have negative side effects.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so do you think that combining that, like caffeine with a nootropic, would allow you to take a lower dosage of the nootropic itself, or how would you time out? Like, would you recommend training only, you know, earlier in the day, or is it taking past a certain point? Okay. I don't know, like the absorption rate and all that stuff, or maybe it ladders itself because of the stimulant, maybe it has a greater effect. You know what I mean? Like in unison, like they both will actually have a greater effect because they kind of play on each other. What do you think about that?
Okay, so this is where you get into HalfLifes. This is where you start understanding the pharmacology of all these supplements. If you look at Noopept, I think it's something like 30 minutes is basically when it peaks, or at least after it's metabolized. So that's really quick. Not only that, but you also have to take the individual into consideration, like we talked about. Like, certain people don't possess the gene that metabolizes caffeine. Some possess the gene that does metabolize caffeine, but it doesn't metabolize it very well. So people need to try, and they need to get, like, I have True Nutrition, just bulk caffeine. It's caffeine anhydrous. So basically caffeine without the water molecule. So it's a little better. You need to get that, and you need to try it. Just take 200 milligrams, set your timer on your phone, and wait until you start feeling something. Wait until you feel a little increase in energy. Wait till you start feeling something, so then you can time it. Because if caffeine takes an hour for you to metabolize at peak, and Noopept only takes 30 minutes, then an hour before your workout, take your caffeine, 30 minutes, take your Noopept. And no matter what, I mean, I don't know many people that are working out less than 30 minutes anymore. Usually you're an hour to 2 hours for a lot of people, even if you're in a low volume program, because your intensity is going to be so freaking high. Yeah. A lot of there's going to be crossover. A lot of it is, like I said, still splitting hairs. A lot of people can get away with just taking it pre-workout. Now, in terms of combining things for like a synergy side of things, I hate saying the word synergy, but it's the best way to describe it. There's going to be so many different interactions between the different stimulants and the different nootropics. I don't feel like there's going to be a better combination other than the one that really works for you, because some people respond really well to alpha GPC, but don't respond very well to Noopept. Some people respond very well to caffeine anhydrous, where other people respond better to teacrine. Actually, that's a bad example, because teacrine is pretty much better all the time, but you get what I'm trying to say, like a DMAA versus a teacrine, you know?
Yeah, exactly. There's two different kind of, two different, and I don't know the half-life on DMAA, but I know that teacrine is really long, so.
Yeah, with DMAA, let's see. You know, I actually don't know, and shit, now I don't even know. Did it finally, is it illegal now, or?
Yeah, I think it's off. I think they switched the molecule. I don't know what the hell they switched it to, but yeah, I think it was a patent thing or something to do, and then now they ran out of it, and they can't sell it, and yeah, it's all same thing with SARMs now. See that?
Yeah, I saw that. I got so many freaking emails about that.
I bet you did, dude. Every other email to you is, hey, what's your thoughts on SARMs?
Yeah. Well, it's a shame. It's a shame too, because like in the past, I always hated them. Only because we didn't have enough long-term data to show any of the negative health side effects. That's why I was so against it for so long. You might as well use, if you're going to be going that route, some kind of a compound like an anabolic steroid or something, because we know what happens long-term. And then as time kind of started evolving, I started realizing people are going to use things anyway. So I would rather them be honest with me and not use it behind my back if they're a client of mine. So at least I can see and monitor and make sure that things are going to be as healthy as they can be when you're pushing things. Because if you're pushing anything that's not over the counter, there's obviously that inherent risk. And so then we started experimenting, trying things out. And I started realizing that they really do have a place for people that just don't want to mess with any kind of injections, that people that are just your weekend warriors or your gym rats or anything like that, but there's still that unknown side effect of the long term. You can't run them as long. And so it was kind of bittersweet timing on my end, because over the past 6 to 8 months, I started realizing, oh, they do have benefit in a place. And now they're going to be on the black market like everything else.
Yeah. And then No, I agree. And I actually have had clients too ask me and experiment with that stuff because, especially when it's maybe younger guys or whatever, they're like, oh, I don't want to, do the injection thing or whatever. And so they wanted to try this, and obviously you can just get it right over the counter at the local supplement store. And they're pushing them too now, because of the effects. Who knows what's really in it, but yeah, I see actually they work whatever's in it, whatever they're selling at the store is working decently. And I don't know what you've monitored, but the effects are there, and the suppression or anything actually depending on the brand for sure. Yep. I only trust one brand now that I've used out of the other ones that I've seen. But anyways, they've actually worked, and then they come back. Blood work is all fine because I make them, do all that stuff just to make sure, because I don't want to be responsible for anybody, But yeah, so with the SARM thing, that is kind of bittersweet, but I'm sure there's going to be something new pretty quick.
Exactly. There's going to be a NARM or a BARM, or they'll come up with some other acronym, and it'll be the same thing basically. It'll take 3 to 5 years to get banned, and then there'll be something new, and there's always something new.
Yeah. Well, from I guess what we were talking about earlier with adaptogens and nootropics, if there's any more nootropics you want to bring up, you can, but I kind of wanted you to tell us pretty much just like a general overview. Who do you think should be taking this, or who do you think should be taking adaptogens? Who do you think should be taking nootropics? And just kind of put it in a goal setting orientation so people listening to this have all this information, so now they can go apply it. Is this for them? You know what I mean?
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so we have, first of all, the athletes, bodybuilders, team sports athletes, anything like that. They classify as being able to utilize both because their bodies are always under stress. They always need to be mentally acute. They need to be alert. They need to be able to adapt to the situations. So from an adaptogen and a nootropic standpoint, any kind of athlete, any kind of person that exercises and has a really big goal, I feel like they can use both. Now, if you are someone who's more academically inclined, so if you are a student, if you are someone that reads a lot, I feel like you benefit more from the nootropic side of things. If you're your average everyday person. And then if you are your average everyday person who just has a stressful life, which is probably going to be 90+% of the population. Because once you leave college, once you start working your 9 to 5, then you have the family, then you have the house, the kids, and all this stuff. Like it adds up, bills add up. And so you would want to use more so of your adaptogens, mainly because you're looking at things from, again, adapting to a stress standpoint. So I feel like the vast majority of our population, I feel like almost everyone should be taking adaptogens for the pure health benefits of them. The other smaller percent, they could add in nootropics, or they could only use nootropics based on how much mental acuity and how much like Alzheimer's and brain disease runs in their family. And the athletes, they can use it fucking all. Like, again, any bodybuilder like you, myself, whoever else out there, you can really get away with using both. Just depends on what you need at specific times. Like ashwagandha, I take it year round. I do take it year round, whether you're in prep or in the off season, because there's so much new literature coming out on it for other health benefits that we didn't even know about. And you know how big I am on health supplements, and this can go on and on.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, perfect. Thank you. That's exactly what I want to know. And I'm sure that all the people listening today are probably really thankful. I know I am, Alex, coming on and talking about a little different subject matters than what's usually on here with supplements, because it's usually just mainstream pre, intra, post workout craziness, protein powders and carbs and stims and all this stuff. But I think health supplements play a huge role into kind of taking it to the next level because I think the most often overlooked thing is just how like recovery, health, and stuff like that into actually taking your physique or your performance and training, whether you're a sport athlete, any athlete, to the next level. You know what I mean?
And that's really what it is. It's not just for enhanced guys. It's for natural guys. It's for football players. It's for lacrosse players. It's for bodybuilders. It's for figure athletes. Everyone should always be getting their blood work done and always be taking supplements. It shouldn't just be the guys that are abusing their body with drugs. I feel like everyone needs to have their health in check. And not only that, but especially the guys, I can't for the life of me understand how some of these guys will use the compounds that they're using and not get blood work done.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I know.
No, like I'm all for pushing things. To me, it's your life. I'm here to serve you. I'm your coach, whatever it is. So if you want to push it, that's fine. But you know what can happen, and we're going to monitor that. Yeah. But at the same time, you have some of these guys that, you know, it's like you almost don't want to get their blood work back because you're like, they come to you after years of doing this. You're like, oh, this is going to be a shit show.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I've just started to dive into that stuff and get into the research of more enhanced stuff because I just find everything so interesting. But yeah, I've had people now come to me about all that stuff. And for one, I tell them like, look, man, I actually refer people to, like, I have like a team in my group, my team, like a doctor, like a kind of more of a hormonal specialist that I have. She deals with all that shit because I don't know enough and I don't want to point them in the wrong direction. Yeah. I find it all really interesting from an endocrine standpoint. And there's so much shit now. And it's crazy, you know, it's not just the basic anabolics of just test and, you know, tren and all that stuff. It's like all the crazy stuff, insulin, GH, and just a bunch of stuff that is really fascinating to me, but you have to be careful. And I'm sure that you know everything about that stuff. But that'll be a different podcast.
Not everything, but a decent amount. If you want to go to someone who knows almost everything about almost every subject, it's Dr. Scott Stevenson, who I know you've listened to. You'll be talking with him, or he'll be on a podcast, or he'll be talking by himself about the invention of the fork. And he'll know every little detail about how the fork was invented. And you're just like how the fuck do you know this, man? Like, I'm good at the fitness, the biomechanics, the bioenergetics. I'm awesome in the bodybuilding and fitness realm. But you take me out of that, geography, I don't know shit. I'm horrible at math. I mean, I'm a very one-trick pony.
Yeah. Well, that's not bad though, and that's why you've probably been successful in the niche is because it interests you. So, but anyways, guys, Alex, thanks for coming on today. I really do appreciate it. What I'm gonna do?
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm gonna put his email, his website, and his podcast, all of his information in the description box. And so you can reach out to him if you have any questions about these subjects that we talked about today, because there is a lot more to it. And I know we went over dosages, but maybe if you have any questions about that, totally reach out to him. If you have any questions for me, also I'll put my stuff in the description box. But for now, my man, I think that we'll call it a wrap on that one. Like I said, thank you again, Alex. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, man. Again, anytime. Again, to me, it's more of an honor to come on and to talk. It really is. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, man. Well, hey, we'll have to have you on again soon because there's many topics that I would like to learn more about as well as the people listening. So anyways, man, thanks again, and we'll talk to you later. Sounds good, buddy. Take care.